The Philadelphia Eagles are in a world of hurt in Philadelphia. Tua Tagovailoa is concussed again in Miami, and Nathaniel Hackett could not hack it in Denver. Hello, everybody. This is Apple Brian and Apple Lori bringing to you Week 17 in the Picks to Post show. NFL games we pick straight up, and usually we're joined by Dan Mattingly, who is currently flying back from Virginia in Christmas vacation, and he wanted to join us if he could make it on time, but the airlines looked like they could not get him here on time. So we're going to be flying alone today. Lori is my partner here today. She is actually the most successful picker on our channel. She has won 5 weeks, 2 of them outright, tied a few times, and she is a hot picker. I am not. And my channel is not. We're in competition with Rob ! And we dropped 4 out of 5 games last week. Personally, I didn't have a horrible week.
You had a great week.
Yeah, 11-5, pretty good.
Yeah.
The games I lost were the wrong ones in concerning the competition. But let's get started today. We have the Dallas Cowboys at the Tennessee Titans.
We've seen on these last 2 plays, Phillies take over.
Here's Prescott. Pressure again. Steps in, just throws it deep as far as his arm can take him. Looking for Hilton. Oh, he caught it! A bomb on 3rd and 30 and his first Cowboy catch.
T.Y. Hilton with a big catch for the Cowboys last week. Dallas is 11-4, and Tennessee is 7-8 on the season. Dallas probably has more to play for than Tennessee does in this game. They are trying to win the NFC East and get as high a seed as they could possibly get. Tennessee, on the other hand, they may rest their regulars in this game. They could lose this game, go to 7-9, and then next week they play Jacksonville. So I consider this a trap game for Tennessee. Even if they lose this game, if they beat Jacksonville next week, they will be the AFC South champions at 8-9, and Jacksonville will be 8-9. Tennessee holds the tiebreaker over Jacksonville. So I don't think Tennessee is going to play Ryan Tannehill. It will be Malik Willis again for the Titans. 51% passing, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He actually has a bigger rushing average, 4.6 yards per carry, than he does per pass attempt, 4.5 yards in the pass attempt. Henry is 1,429 yards rushing, 4.5 yards per carry, and he's total over 1,800 yards, so it's been another tremendous season for Derrick Henry. Tennessee Titans have an exceptional defensive line. Everybody on the D-line has from 6 to 8 sacks. But they're not so strong at linebacker, and they have 3 defensive secondary members on the injury list that might not be playing. Wide receiver Burks, rookie from Arkansas, didn't play last week. He's their best receiver, but he is now a full participant in practice and will probably be back for the Titans. The Cowboys, they've got a much more well-rounded team than Tennessee. CeeDee Lamb has turned out to be definitely a number 1 receiver with 91 catches and 1,207 yards. For the Cowboys, Dorrance Armstrong from KU, I like to mention him every week if I can, is questionable, and he's been limited in practice. Trayvon Diggs has an illness, and he's limited in practice as well. The biggest thing for the Cowboys as they approach the playoffs is how they control the aggressiveness of Dak Prescott. They got to cut his turnovers down and the interceptions. I think the Cowboys lead the NFL in interceptions. Just keep handing the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, 829 yards, and Tony Pollard, who has 988 yards. They're a great 1-2 punch in the running game. I am picking the Cowboys in this game. Lori, who do you like?
I'm going for the Cowboys as well. I think they have a lot to play for, and they've been proving a lot lately. And Tennessee doesn't have a motive.
Yeah, the motivation probably is not there this week. It would be better for them to not have any additional injuries and go into the playoffs healthy. And they're probably concentrating on their game for Jacksonville in 2 weeks. All right, the next game up is the Arizona Cardinals at the Atlanta Falcons. Arizona Cardinals are 4-11. Atlanta is 5-10 on the season. Today, J.J. Watt announced his retirement, so this will be his last home game. Should be an emotional game for the Cardinals and Watt for that reason. Trace McSorley will probably be the quarterback. As we know, as Murray's out for the season. And the backup, whose name is on the tip of my tongue, but not recalling. Colt McCoy is injured. So it's going to be Trace McSorley from Penn State. James Conner has 703 yards on the season, 4.2 yards per carry, but running back depth has been an issue for the Cardinals. The Atlanta Falcons, what a disappointing season they've had at 5-10. They're breaking in Desmond Ridder at quarterback. Ridder is now coming into his 3rd week. So I think they're going to try to have him throw the ball downfield more this week. And I think Arthur Smith will open up the offense more than he has. Ridder has only averaged 5 yards per pass attempt, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 59% passing. Algier and Patterson have been 2 good running backs for them. They have combined for 1,400 yards on the season and a healthy 4.9 average. In this game, it's kind of hard to pick who's going to win this, but I am going with the Atlanta Falcons. Lori?
So I had a thought that I was wondering if Arizona was wanting to win the game for the guy who's going to retire. So I'm wondering, I'm going to go with Arizona.
It's a good possibility. I've been saying for a couple of weeks, it looks like Arizona has kind of given up on the season, but I think you got a point there. Next up, the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Is that right? I got that.
Chicago, Detroit.
Yeah, that's yeah. Hang on. Somehow I got that out of order.
Dun, 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 dun.
Let's try Chicago and Detroit.
All right, let's do that one.
That's the next one on our list.
Oh boy.
All right, Chicago is 3-12 on the season. Detroit has gone to 7-8. Last week, all I can say is wow on the Detroit Lions. I thought that they were very possibly win out on the season. But man, they laid an egg last week. Jamal Williams, the outstanding running back, all he had was 15 yards. The other running back, DeAndre Swift, all he had was 12 yards. Meanwhile, the Bears, not the Bears, but the Hornets, who they played last week, ran all over, or the Panthers, ran all over Detroit. Hornets playing the NBA. I think they would have run over to Detroit as well if they played the Lions last week. Detroit's defense is 32 in the league in points allowed and in yards allowed. They're just not stopping anybody. Look for a few weeks mid-season or a little past mid-season that Detroit was kind of getting their defensive issues in order, but a complete collapse last week. Fields, the quarterback for the Bears, is developing into what he is going to be, a running quarterback. He has rushed for 1,102 yards at the quarterback position. I can't recall. There's probably been other 1,000-yard rushers in the league before, but I can't put my finger on who that would be. Passing, he's 62% with 16 touchdowns and 10 interceptions at 7 yards per pass attempt. Defense for Chicago is about as bad as Detroit's. They're 31st in points allowed and 25th in yards allowed. I think Detroit still has something to play for. I'm going to pick the Lions. Dan Campbell is a good coach. I think he'll get it back together for Detroit next week. I'm picking the Lions.
All right, well, I'm going to go with the Lions as well. I think that they are they have got some steam up and they're doing great. So, and Chicago is just giving up.
Yeah, they gave up when they traded away their two defensive guys. Quinn and Roquan Smith is having a great year in Baltimore. And their defense, after losing them, was doomed. Okay, the next game I've got is Denver at Kansas City. And I've got two more teams out of the line. I don't know what was going on.
I'm going to play the clip. Hold on. You can put your...
Had Tyreek, and he's gone. Now it's catch and run.
Mahomes over the middle to Kelsey again. Catch and run, you said. And Kelsey on the run inside the 10. First and goal, Kansas City.
Have a little fun.
On third down and goal. Mahomes stepping up. Looking. Mahomes chase. Diving for the pylon. Patrick Mahomes. Is it a touchdown? No signal. Yes. Touchdown, Kansas City.
It's almost like he had to talk him into that touchdown. I touched the pylon.
Just barely got it. We say it every week. You see something new from Mahomes every week. Just holding it. That hand was just barely in bounds, holding himself up to reach out and graze the pylon for a touchdown. Mahomes has got over 4,500 yards passing, and I think he's got 37 touchdowns. You know, Tom Brady has five of those seasons, but it took him 21 years to do that. Peyton Manning has 4 of those seasons. It took him 17 years to do that. Mahomes has done it 4 times in the 5 years that he's played. He is a cut above. And I think right now with Jalen Hurts injured in Philadelphia, I think he's the runaway MVP. People are now bringing up Justin Jefferson as an MVP. He may get to 2,000 yards receiving. But the MVP award has usually been the most valuable passer award for a long, long time. It usually goes to quarterbacks. And if you think of it, if the Chiefs did not have Patrick Mahomes, what would the record be? It would be nowhere near 12-3.
Yeah, it would sure be great if he got that MVP award.
Yeah, he's got one before in his second year playing, but I think he deserves it this year for sure. You probably heard the news. Denver has fired their head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, and this is only the 3rd time that a head coach has been fired in his first season, mid-season. So it's not something that happens very often. But after the 51-point debacle last week, it was an embarrassment to this proud organization, and they've had it. They fired him. Jerry Rosberg, an assistant, is going to be the interim head coach. Well, I'll talk about who's going to be the next guy at Denver. Could it be Sean Payton? I would think not. He has a home in Idaho, but there's some problems in Denver. They're really committed to Russell Wilson for a couple of years, and it could be Russell Wilson is basically done as an NFL quarterback.
So they've got a money flow issue, don't they?
But there's a lot of money with that organization. Walmart is a big part of it. I think they've got like $60 billion or something behind them, so they could spend if they want to, and they could buy people out of contracts if they want to. So that's a consideration. Frank Wright is out there. Eric Bieniemy's name comes up, but I don't know who they're going to go for. They played us tough last time we played them. It was not easy. Chiefs,
No, it wasn't.
the Chiefs are favored by 13.5 this time around. We left that game the last time we were just a couple of weeks ago when we played Denver. Left that game wishing that we would play less zone defense. They were confused on 2 touchdowns playing zone. And just stay with man-to-man. Jerry Jeudy got 3 touchdowns on our secondary. So I think Kansas City will hopefully address that issue. That part should go better. We should be able to shut down Latavius Murray and Marlon Mack in their running game. Denver's defense is still good, but they've not been as good the last few weeks as they have been all season long. I think Kansas City has, again, a lot to prove after that last Denver game, and they are still trying to play for a number 1 seed. So I don't see Injury, but usually like to rest his people as we approach the playoffs, but I don't see him doing that until he gets that bye.
Right.
We're
going to fight hard. Kansas City's going to fight hard to win that game, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm picking Kansas City.
Me too. Everyone knows we're from a mixed marriage, right?
We used to have season tickets, and Lori is from Denver, and she loved her Elway t-shirts.
I've got an Elway jersey, not just a t-shirt.
Yeah, a few Elway jerseys, actually. And she would wear them. I would wear my Chiefs stuff, and it was always tough. That was a tough situation when we were playing Denver. Our next game up is the Miami Dolphins at the New England Patriots. All right, Miami is 8-7 on the season, and New England is 7-8. It's going to be cold in New England. And the last time Miami played in the cold, they didn't win, but they actually played a pretty good game against Buffalo. Yeah. If you recall, they showed up and gave Buffalo all they wanted. But they're not going to have Tua. Terry Bridgewater will be the quarterback. Tua is reported to symptoms of concussion on Monday. They don't know where it happened in the game, and that makes sense to me. Also, Tua said that he had 3 straight interceptions in that game. And Tua said that one of those interceptions was simply because he got confused on the play and miscalled the play in the huddle, and that resulted in the interception. So I'm pretty sure he was concussed twice back in week 3 and 4. And we all remember that. And now last week, so that's the 3rd one. I don't think he should be back this season. I think if he plays next week, the league will step in and keep him from playing next week. And even if he comes back in a couple of weeks, I think there'll be an uproar, and deservedly so. They need to think about his long-term health.
That's really too bad.
It is. Tua was having a great season.
Right.
And he's a good guy.
Yeah. So who's going to win?
Well, New England, they got problems too. The offensive play calling for New England has been a problem. They've got a defensive coordinator calling the plays. Mac Jones has been underwhelming this year, and now some people are saying he's a dirty football player when he went after the knees on a defensive ball being returned. He went to block a guy and went straight for his knees. Not good. New England has red zone problems. In this week, I was saying running back Stevenson should move to over 1,000 yards this week. They do have an outstanding defense. Matthew Judon, 50.5 sacks, 13 tackles for losses. Uchi's got 11.5 sacks. And because of their defense and no Tua, I am picking New England.
I think I'll go the same. If Tua was there was a good quarterback, Tyreek Hill would pull some touchdowns in there, but we're not sure what's going to happen there.
Yeah, I'd be less concerned about the weather if they had Tua, because they definitely showed up in the Buffalo game in cold conditions. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the New York Giants.
They're going to run it. And in the biggest moments, Saquon Barkley said he wanted the ball. Touchdown, Giants.
If he had a neck injury before, I think he's definitely over that neck injury now. Indianapolis is 4-9-1. New York Giants are 8-6-1. Giants are still have something to play for. Basically, Indianapolis, the only thing they're playing for are their jobs. And that is a motivating factor in the NFL. People do want to keep their jobs. Jeff Saturday since he was hired, he has only one game. And, we talked about before, this will be the third time we talked about it. I think they made the move because they want a better position in the draft. And they didn't like Reich playing Sam Ehlinger. They went with Nick Foles last time. Didn't work out any better than it was with Ryan or Ehlinger. Starting part of Indianapolis, in my opinion, is Ngakwe, Buckner, and Gilmore. They have a core on the defense that's pretty decent. But still, even with them, they're 25th in points allowed in the NFL. The New York Giants, on the other hand, Wink Martindale, their defensive coordinator, I don't know if he was mentored by Steve Spagnuolo or the Chiefs. Defensive coordinator Spagnuolo used to be a head coach. And I'm not sure if Martindale was with him, but I think he might have been, because he's kind of a carbon copy of Spagnuolo in that he is aggressive with the blitzes and just plays a pressure aggressive defense.
Maybe somebody watching this will know that answer and can comment. That would be helpful.
When they had a 3rd and 9 against the Vikes, and it was predictable they were going to blitz, and the Vikings took advantage of that and broke off a big play. Daniel Jones has been solid for the Giants, 67%, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and 7 yards per pass attempt without much of a wide receiving core. And Barkley is at 1,254 yards. Looks like he's fully healed, 4.4.
Dan's joining us.
Oh, all right.
Yay!
Yes.
Man, you made it.
Hey!
Hey. Sorry, I had something come up, but made it back.
Okay, we're only into the 5th game. Let me finish this. I'm gonna pick the Giants. Lori?
Well, my question was, does Indianapolis have anything to play for?
Not a thing. Individual jobs. That's
Root
about
for the Giants.
it. Okay, Dan, the first game was Dallas and Tennessee.
Take Dallas.
Got it. And then we have Arizona, Atlanta.
Oh, that's a terrible game.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Give me Atlanta. I liked what I saw from Ritter. He looked a little better this week. Second.
Yeah, and I'm thinking they're going to open it up a little more. He's only at about roughly 5 yards per pass attempt, but I think they'll throw it down the field more, this being his 3rd week.
And London's fantastic.
Yeah, he is. Chicago and Detroit.
Detroit.
Looking for a bounce back there. Kansas City and Denver.
I'll take KC. Ooh, Denver. Oh, Denver.
Poor Denver.
Nobody's made Baker Mayfield look that good since he was at Oklahoma.
Mayfield was awesome, and you're right. Who do you think will be the next coach at Denver? They fired Hackett today.
I love that they got a guy that they got to help Hackett do clock management halfway through the year, and they made him their head coach. He's been like a special teams coach 5 different places and hasn't worked since 2018, and now he's the head coach of the Denver Broncos.
Oh, gosh.
That's
Playing the
insane.
Kansas City Chiefs. Good luck.
Yeah. Tough ask.
You know what? He might come through.
I don't think they're getting Sean Payton, though, through the doors in Denver next
Frank
year.
Wright? You think Frank Wright would go
that
there?
attractive of a job.
How about Frank White?
That would be a good fit. He would love having that defense. And they have players at every position. They're a loaded roster. Frank Reich's a solid coach. He got a bad deal in Indianapolis, I thought. I think he'd be a good fit there too.
I think they're going to have trouble attracting any coach. You got to look at the ownership. You know, you got to have a solid relationship with the ownership.
Yeah.
And then a new coach would want to have a solid relationship with the quarterback, and we've seen how that went this year. So it's going to be tough.
I agree.
Maybe it'll be Bieniemy's opportunity. I don't know. Indianapolis and New York Giants.
Go be
Take the Giants. I think Indy's the biggest tire fire in the league.
So far, you picked everyone that Lori and I have picked, and now our game next up is New Orleans at Philly.
I'll take Philly. I think they'll clean up some of those turnovers that they had this past week with Dallas. I think Minshew is a pretty decent starting quarterback in the NFL. It's a luxury to have him on a team that good. You know, New Orleans, they win some weird games and they lose a lot of games I expect them to win. Andy Dalton has not been the answer for them, and they are in QB purgatory. They are stuck paying Dalton, Taysom Hill, and Jameis Winston unless they want to give up tens of millions in cap space next season. I just don't see how that team's going to be good for a few years.
All right.
To score and they get the ball again. This Browns offense hasn't been on the field. Read option play. This is Taysom Hill, and he bangs it in for the Saints touchdown.
Seems like, you know, here and there they put in Taysom Hill and he delivers for them.
Yeah, but he's played more snaps at tight end than he has at quarterback.
He could play running back. He could play tight end.
Play anywhere.
I would keep him over the other two and just find another quarterback if it were my choice. Olave did not play last week, and that's what really threw me. I thought he was going to be playing. Let's see. Tyrann Mathieu, former Chief, his second in tackles for New Orleans. He's had a good year there. Cam Jordan's had a good year. And Mario Davis has had a good the defense has been okay for New Orleans.
Definitely.
But still, this is Philadelphia, and Minshew, though he's a backup quarterback, he still threw for 3,400 yards. Is that the most in the NFC last week? Did Mayfield have more than that?
Yeah, I think he surpassed him.
Yeah, I think Minshew, had the most yards in the NFC. Philly is missing their right tackle, Lane Johnson, who's not given up a sack in 2 years. He's a big part of their offense. He says he's going to try and play. So I would list him as questionable. Last 2 weeks, they've had 7 turnovers, and that's been the problem for Philadelphia, kind of like Dallas. Same deal going on. So Josh Sweat has 15 TFLs, 11 sacks.
And a great pick.
Yeah, pick 6. What was it? Was it a pick 6? I think it was last week. We got a great secondary and all-pro linebacker and Hassan Reddick, 14 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. I think Philly is still playing for a number one seed. I don't think they're going to rest their starters this week. Be something to look at next week. I'm picking Philadelphia. Lori?
Philly it is.
All right. Let's see. Next up, Carolina and Tampa Bay.
This division, this game is going to encapsulate this division in my mind. It is such a bizarre, awful division. Tampa Bay can't play offense until they need to come back from 13 points down in the fourth quarter, and Tom Brady is calling their plays, because if they're relying on Byron Leftwich to call plays, they are going to be the most predictable and just slow offense in the league. Evans and Godwin aren't explosive anymore. Brady, when he plays the hurry-up offense, is effective, but they don't do it until the fourth quarter when they need to come back from 10 points or more. I think that's a fool's errand against this Carolina Panthers team. They're going to run the ball well, and Darnold looks pretty good. I mean, he might earn himself a shot at a job with the Panthers next year. As crazy as that sounds, he's looked effective. He's getting out of the pocket. He's hitting guys down the field. I believe in this Panthers offense. This coach, I think he should be the head coach of the Panthers next season. They looked great last week and the week before. I think that the Panthers beat a very predictable Buccaneers team.
From the Tampa Bay 33, Brady dumps the ball off. It's Fournette running left, cuts it upfield, keeps his balance to the 40, 45-50. He's to the 45, inside Carolina territory, and knocked out of bounds at the 30.
Captain Comeback pulls it off again. This is the third time he's done it to the Rams. He's done it to New Orleans. Fourth time, actually. He's done it to New Orleans. And he's done it now to the Arizona Cardinals. If you need somebody to come back at the very end, Brady still has that. Although I agree with you, their play calling has been very predictable. We've been waiting for Tampa Bay to come out of it all year, and they really haven't. Playoff Lenny looks like he's gearing up for the playoffs. I do think Tampa will probably get into the playoffs in the back door and get a home game. He had 100. Let's see. Fournette had 160 total yards last week. They still got on defense Levante David and Devin White, linebackers, who are very good. They got 3 offensive tackles battling injuries. The holding guy, yeah, he didn't play last week, and he's questionable this week. Basically, with Tampa Bay, you got to score 17 points. Tampa is 0-7 when the opponent scores 17 or more points.
Yeah,
that's all it takes to beat them with this offense. Brady has thrown 6 interceptions in the last 3 games. Thoughts are turning. Where's he going to be next year? It won't be Tampa. He'll either retire or he'll go to one of these other
teams. The Niners or the Dolphins, right?
Purdy has been pretty. I mean, he's been making good throws. They might be through with Jimmy G in San Francisco, but boy, Purdy is earning his keep there. I don't know where he's going to go. Now, Carolina last week, they ran over
302 yards, I think.
Yeah, 302 yards running all over Detroit. They beat Carolina's already beat Tampa 21-3, so they know how to score more than 17 against Tampa. They're pretty healthy. And like you said, Darnold is 61%, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he's throwing the ball downfield 9 yards per attempt. Deontay Foreman's got 800 yards rushing. DJ Morris, 761 yards catching. And they got a deep threat in Marshall, who is at 18.8 yards per catch.
And this game coming on.
this game I'm picking Carolina. Dan, you said Carolina also?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, their head coach has definitely earned another look next year, I would say.
Yeah.
Lori, who do you got?
Well, I want to say because Tom Brady is coming down to the end of his career, and they really want to win games for him. So I want to think about it a little more. I don't know, but you guys are good with Carolina. I'll think about it.
Okay. We'll come back to that. Next game is Cleveland at Washington.
Well, this is not going to be fun to watch. Haneke got benched, but I think he was in a bad spot anyway. I don't see how you get better if your other option is what it is. I mean, do we want to go back to watching 7 or 8 sacks in a half? That's what we're going to get out of Carson Wentz. He's just going to force the ball downfield into bad coverages, and it's going to be rough. The Washington defense is coming on. I think the Browns defense is also playing very well, and I think that the quarterback position is just such an obvious red flag for both of these teams. If I knew that Wentz was starting, I'd probably take the Browns, but I think overall, Deshaun Watson has just been miserable. It's hard. I mean, he had 2 years off. I don't agree that he should be the highest paid quarterback in the league. I didn't understand the move at the time. I think this is just more Browns purgatory that the team's ownership has put them through by signing him. And they deserve it. They buy their presents, they put them under the tree, and man, they opened a real stinker. Give me Washington. I'm hoping they beat the Browns.
White elephant gift.
Yeah, except nobody stole or traded for it, except them.
I looked up the sacks on Wentz. He was sacked 23 times in 2 less games than Heineke, but Heineke lately has been getting sacked.
Bad. Yeah.
He's up to 19 sacks. So not a whole lot of difference there now. And I was wondering, we talked about several weeks ago, he got off to a hot start with Washington, but it seemed like he's done that before and then faded. So maybe that's kind of what we were looking at. I think they have to kind of decide what they've got in Wentz. And I think Wentz is going to play this week as opposed to Heineke. They gave up 153 yards rushing to San Francisco, and now they got to hold down Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They're going to need a much better effort to win this game. I don't think it's going to happen. I am picking Cleveland. You had Cleveland too?
I had Washington.
Oh, yeah, Washington. Okay.
I dislike Cleveland very much.
Yeah, Watson hasn't had it. Last week he was only 15 for 31. That's less than 50%, 132 yards. And now it's his 4th week, and I thought he would catch on better as time went along, but doesn't seem like it. Nobody on Cleveland's team has more than 3 sacks, not named Myles Garrett. Garrett's got 14. But I think Cleveland will pull it out. It'll be a close one. What do you got, Lori? We're just confusing you, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going back and forth.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lori.
It's okay. I think I'll go with Carolina for my other pick, and I think I'll go with my first thought was Cleveland too. And actually my first thought was Washington, but I think Cleveland has an impetus to win. And so what is Washington's impetus to win this game?
They have an outside shot at the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a very outside shot. They're 7-7-1. Cleveland's not.
So I'm going to go with Washington then. I think that's they have a reason. I still think there's that. So
All right, next up we got Jacksonville and Houston. A little slow on the helmets today. I've got some of these out of order somehow.
somebody was playing with your helmets.
I do that all the time.
I'm gonna start calling you Darth Helmet. There we go. So Jacksonville's fun. They're really clicking. Lawrence, man, very impressive. Win in the rain. He had an embarrassing game in the rain early in the season where he fumbled the ball 4 times. They lost every single one of the fumbles, and he just played awful. And people were like, well, we might not have anything here. The great quarterback talent since Andrew Luck, maybe he's not what we thought he was. Well, he's what we thought he was. He's phenomenal. He's pushing the ball down the field. He's moving. He moves the pocket well. He navigates. He finds guys and hits them in stride. He is making this Jacksonville team into a legit sleeper. Not only to make the playoffs, but to maybe, make a little noise, win a game. The Texans, they beat Malik Willis, probably the worst passer I've seen in the NFL, other than maybe Trace McSorley II, my favorite player ever. Great name. But I think Jacksonville just has too much for this kind of sneaky Texans team. Plus, the Texans need to lose to keep the number 1 pick. I think somebody's going to be yelling in Lovie Smith's ear this whole game, "Hey, we can't win this game. Please stop. Lose. We have to lose." So give me.
Minneapolis is breathing down their neck.
They are.
So Jacksonville is 7-8-2. Houston is 2-12-1. Houston's played 3 good games here lately. They've got a young team. They're suffering in red zone offense. Teams have been getting in. They're below 50% when they get in the red zone. Damian Pierce, 939 yards, 4.3 average. He missed the Chiefs game, but I think he's back now.
Yeah.
And I believe they'll probably go back to starting Davis Mills this week. 62%, 14 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 7 yards per attempt. Team needs some wide receivers badly, and I think they should be looking at in the draft. I think about the only bright thing that's come out of this season for Texan is Jason Petrie, rookie defensive back, who's got 4 interceptions and 126 tackles. Jacksonville, they're kind of in the same boat that Tennessee is. When we talked about Tennessee, we talked about it could be a trap game, and I don't think Tennessee is going to play their best players because they can lose this game and still get the number 1 spot in the AFC South because of their game next week with Jacksonville. So Jacksonville's kind of in the same boat, but I don't think they're going to rest anybody. They've got young players up and coming. I think I'd be very surprised if they set anybody.
Right. Peterson's going to want continuity in my mind.
He's going to want continuity, and he's going to want to work on issues. He has things going well last few weeks. I don't think he wants to break that up. I'm picking Jacksonville. Yeah, Lori?
Jacksonville it is.
Okay, next game is San Francisco at Vegas. San Francisco is 11-4. Vegas is 6-9.
Vegas, they really just don't have a lot on defense other than Jones and Crosby, out of this world, talented players. They're great. They brought over Jones from Arizona. He's had a pretty good year for him, and Max Crosby is maybe up there with the Boses and TJ Watt as a defensive end. Phenomenal players there, but they're not getting a lot else from their defense. Derek Carr is throwing a ton of picks. He's got his full complement of guys back, but man, they're not running the ball the same. Josh Jacobs has fallen off a cliff. Believe me, I had him in fantasy. It was rough. This team is treading water. They're not ascending like the Chargers are. They're just kind of a middle of the pack team that's not going to make the playoffs, and I think San Francisco's going to clean them up. I really do. Man, Purdy is on time. He's not really pushing the ball down the field, but he doesn't really need to. He can hit Ayuk on a crossing route. He can get Kittle in the flat. He can run it with McCaffrey or find him on a bubble screen or something like that. They've got so many pieces, and Purdy is just playing that instrument to perfection right now. I don't expect that to stop against this dumb Raiders team.
Different angles, you get the opportunity to get a ball tipped at the line of scrimmage.
Ray McLeod on second down and 10. There he goes with the foot race. They're not going to get him. You can kiss him goodbye.
Two of my favorite broadcasters, Kevin Harlan from Kansas City and Trent Green, of course, from Chiefs years gone by. San Francisco's got talent just oozing out of the woodwork. Ray McLeod, where did he come from? 71-yard touchdown run. If I was in the NFC, man, San Francisco would be the last team I'd want to play. It's just, McCaffrey's played 9 games. He's got 938 total yards in 9 games.
Special.
Defense is a shutdown defense. Every way you look at, superstars everywhere. Purdy's numbers are
DPO. Do you think he got Defensive Player of the Year after last week? He was a wrecking ball.
Yeah, Crosby has kind of fallen off the last couple of weeks. I was real disappointed in Crosby last week. I picked the Raiders, and I kept hoping for him to do something, and he didn't get that all game long. I think Bosa is definitely – the Defensive Player of the Year award is much harder to win than the MVP award because it goes to anybody at any position. Right. And I think Nick Bosa is definitely in the league, 17.5 sacks, 18 tackles for loss. So he's definitely got the numbers. I think when I think of the Raiders, they're kind of the opposite of the Minnesota Vikings. My Vikings are 11-0 in one-score games, and the Raiders are 4-8 in one-score games. So they have not been able to win the close ones. Now there's dissension on the team. Jacobs is complaining about not being used as much the last few weeks, and the lower emphasis on the running game. And I don't know why they wouldn't use him. I mean, he's a talent.
Best player.
Much more than Derek Carr. Derek Carr is not having a good year.
No.
This has been his worst year with the Raiders. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to go in another direction next year. Maybe Tom Brady.
Maybe. He likes Josh McDaniels. He might be the last person in America that likes Josh McDaniels, though.
I don't think Brady's teammates at Tampa Bay particularly like him.
No. He's a pain.
San Francisco, I've got Lori.
San Francisco it is.
San Francisco. Next up, the New York Jets at Seattle. Let's see. I'm not even finding those helmets. This is. Oh, here we go.
I didn't want to pick this game anyway.
Well, they're going to be back to their green helmets, but I still got my black one here. It's been kind of sad lately. Mike White's going to be starting this week for.
Yeah, and that may make a big difference for the Jets. I'm kind of banking on that, to be honest. I think Geno's fallen off considerably. But I think a lot of that last week was due to those guys did not want to play in -10 wind chill in Kansas City. You could tell the guys were not catching balls that they normally catch. Being tackled looked like just an ordeal. Playing these cold weather games, I mean, you have to have a special mindset to be able to do that. The Jets have been kind of floundering. A lot of it has to do with White being out, I think. I think he kind of makes that offense click. The defense is pretty good, and Seattle's defense isn't very good. Kenneth Walker, very banged up, in my opinion. He does not look like the player that we saw in the beginning of the season where we thought we might have a potential rookie of the year on offense coming out of Seattle. I think Seattle's just kind of starting to fall, and the Jets may take advantage this week.
Yeah, both teams are 7-8. I like your argument, Dan. I put down Seattle, but later hearing today that they benched Zach Wilson. In fact, they're not only benched him, he's inactive. So Flacco will be the backup quarterback. So both New York teams, they've had good years. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but they've got nothing to complain about. The Jets have a solid defense. They lost their 2 number 1 draft picks, and the loss of Breece Hall was the worst thing that happened to him. But number 76, I forget his name now. He was 2 years ago, number 1 draft pick. He was great. And they missed him as well. Garrett Wilson has 71 catches. He'll pass 1,000 yards. He's got 996. They've got Corey Davis as their deep threat, 16.9 per catch. And Mike White is back. He had 3 broken ribs, which was a worse situation that Justin Herbert deal with earlier in the year. But Herbert, the way he played, you wouldn't even notice he had a broken rib. So maybe Mike White can sum that up as well, and he'll be back and be himself. I'm picking the Jets.
I've got the Jets too.
Next game is this is a big one. Minnesota Vikings at the zombie Green Bay Packers.
Oh, come on. Everybody's saying the Packers are contenders now. I don't buy it. I know everybody loves to talk about Aaron Rodgers, so all the shows are going to prop the Packers up here in the last 2 weeks of the year and say, "Oh yeah, they're finding themselves. It took longer than we thought," and all that nonsense. And the truth is, the Packers aren't that good. They're a middle of the road team with an aging superstar quarterback that we want to get a few more State Farm commercials out of. So we're going to talk about him a little bit. The Vikings, as much as, I'm sure everyone in Minnesota looks like me watching these stressful games, just losing their hair, watching Justin Jefferson prop up this offense and the defense just fail to make stops over and over and over. They've got an amazing record. They're a good team. Maybe they have some regression next season, but they should be able to take care of I go back. I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers are the 2 most similar teams in the league. They're very predictable on offense. You think their defenses should be better than they are, and they're just not. It's not that hard to stop them, and I just think that Minnesota has too much. So give me the Vikings, and I'll cross my fingers this whole game, I'm sure.
Man, to Jason Sanders, boots it down there. Nixon, always aggressive, bringing it out. Keyshawn Nixon does it again. This time he breaks free. Dolphins taking good angles. Nixon keeps it alive inside the 10.
You don't see too many of those this year. There's only been, I think, 3 kick return touchdowns. He didn't quite get a touchdown out of that. But I think there's only been 3 kick return touchdowns in the league, and maybe 3 punt returns in all the hundreds that have been kicked. Took a 61-yard field goal for Minnesota to win last week. It's been tenuous team. Their defense is not very good, except for the linebackers. They do have some very good linebackers. Hicks has 123 tackles. Hendricks has 129 tackles. Sedarius Smith, 10.5 sacks and 15 tackles for loss. Hunt, 10.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. And Warnham hasn't played a whole lot, but he's got 4 sacks. So they got 5 linebackers on that team that I wouldn't mind having on my team. But other than that, I don't like Minnesota's defense. This is a 6th game-winning kick for Greg Joseph. The team is healthy. I'll give them that. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of believing in the zombie Packers.
Oh, man.
It's going to be cold for a dome team.
Leprechaun gold.
I think both teams are 7-8.
Yeah.
And I was watching Jerry Reed, a defensive tackle. He did not play like this for the Chiefs. Maybe the last 2 or 3 games. He was out of shape most of the year when he played for the Chiefs last year. But he's had a good year for Green Bay, and he's playing especially well. Now he had a sack last week's game. He forced a fumble, all that in the first half. They won 3 straight games to get themselves back into the playoff race. You still have to have a lot happen to get into the playoffs, but it could happen. This stat that I'm hung up on is that LaFleur, the coach there, is 15-0 in December. So
Absolutely.
I'm hoping he goes 16-0. I'm picking Green Bay. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to go back with the whole. I think Minnesota's won a lot of games that have been really, really close, and just wondering, maybe they're a really great team, but I'm thinking that Green Bay is going to win because I think they want Aaron to get back in the playoffs with potential there. So I think it's the motivation for them to win the game.
And they're home. They can play great there.
That's true.
Our next game is the Championship of Los Angeles.
Ooh.
We got the LA Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know who the home team is here. It'll be interesting to see who the crowd thinks is the home team, who has the most.
Yeah, that'll be fascinating, won't it?
I think the home team in LA is SC. That's personally what I think. But
that's a good point. I mean, we have newly rejuvenated Baker Mayfield, scoring 51 points last week. They never punted. They scored every possession they had. They're clicking. They've shut down all their best players. Donald, Kupp, Stafford, Allen Robinson II, who wasn't one of their best players, but was supposed to be. And then it's not seemed to matter. They've been able to put up points. I think they'll play tough at home, the home and home game that we have here. But I think the Chargers are really stepping up. I think this defense is starting to click. I think the offense is getting healthy. Having Williams, Eckler, it makes all the difference. They had Allen for a couple weeks before they really had Williams back, and it didn't make the team a game-breaking team, but I think they're there now. Staley's actually calling a pretty good defense these days. They've got these guys back, and I expect them to beat the Rams.
Incredible quarterback or coach or something that has a lot of experience.
This is going to go the distance. Second pick of the game for Kobe Durant.
He started it off, didn't he, earlier in the game with a big interception, and he finishes the game with a big interception. Merry Christmas.
love that call on that interception. It's been an all year for Denver. There is kind of a connection between Mayfield and the tight end Higbee.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a connection there. Cam Akers is coming on strong the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. The Rams are going to put up a fight. There's no doubt about it. But the Chargers, they got their full complement back with Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams has been terrific. The only thing they're missing is Joey Bosa, who basically missed the whole year with a quad injury. He went out in the 4th week with a quad, and he's definitely not playing this week. They're not sure about next week. I think they're pointing to try to work him back for the last game of the season before the playoffs. I think they'll get in the playoffs. I am picking the Chargers.
I think
I'll
they
go with
clinched
the
the wild card.
They've already clinched. Okay.
Yeah, they've got wild card.
Great. Chargers for me as well.
Okay, next game is Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And there we go.
With this game, Lori, did we throw a coin in the air? I don't know.
I have a yes/no decider though. You want that?
What's that?
I have a yes/no decider.
A yes/no decider. I like it. And Baltimore ran well last week, and it's the reason they won. They cannot throw the ball without Lamar Jackson. It didn't look pretty even with Lamar Jackson sometimes, and he's a very talented guy. I think Pickett's back, and he looks pretty good. These teams hate each other. They always get up for this game. It's a great rivalry, one of the best in the league for years now. My sister'd kill me, but I think I'm taking the Steelers in this one.
Wow.
She's a
Okay.
big Ravens fan. You know this.
Yeah, the Steelers 7-8 and Baltimore is 10-5. Does the rivalry negate whatever the records are? Would you go that far to say that?
I think so. I think they play so hard for this game. The players really do care, especially the established ones. These two teams, they have battles every season. I don't think it matters the talent level sometimes. But with Watt in there, I mean, he's a little banged up, but he can turn a game. And like I said, as long as they can stop the run, I don't know what the Ravens are going to do to get the ball down the field.
Well, the last time they played in Week 14, it was a 2-point game. Baltimore won 16-14. But I'm with you. I'm not sold on Huntley. He's 67%, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, only 6 yards per pass attempt. I think Kenny Pickett is better, and Pickens is starting to become a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm also going to pick Pittsburgh in this game. Lloyd?
I want to say Baltimore just because I'm going to go with your sister this time, Dan.
Here you go. We'll appreciate that.
Baltimore's got a big-time defense for sure, and they're a better team. But I'm also thinking that they're still trying to get over 500 for Tomlin, and that's why I'm kind of leaning toward Pittsburgh. And I got the decider die saying no to Baltimore.
That's how I made my call too.
This could be the game of the year. I thought that about the Pittsburgh-Dallas game last week, for game of the year for the NFC. This could be the game of the year for the AFC. Buffalo at Cincinnati. Buffalo's 12-3. Cincinnati is 11-4. I did the upgraded ratings for the Fast Drive football game and played this game on my channel this morning. Won't tell you who won. I'd like you to watch the game. It was a good one.
Excellent. We'll have to get that one. I go back and forth with these two teams. The quarterbacks are incredible when they're on. They're two of the best in the league. Explosive. Burrow is telepathic with his receivers almost. It's incredible what he can do. Just back shoulder stuff, getting things and just right out in front of the sticks. He and Chase are just they're sharing a brain. It seems like sometimes they've got the running back with Mixon. But man, did Buffalo run the ball last week? They looked phenomenal. Singletary is really putting it together. Allen, when both these quarterbacks aren't throwing multiple picks a game, these are two of the scariest teams in the league. I just think the Bills scare me a little more. I think their defense is a little better, and I think when they're right, that they're just dominant. And I think that Burrow, they have more lapses. They have more periods and stretches where they look bad. And in the second half of last week, they let the Pats back in that game. They could have lost that game because Burrow just wasn't on it. And I think Allen is a little more consistent and Buffalo's team is a little more talented.
New set of downs for Allen and the Bills. This is Singletary. Singletary with a hole up the middle. 15, 10, 5, touchdown Buffalo.
Speaking of Singletary.
What would you say to that kid if he was standing in the end zone while Singletary ran about 15 yards toward him before he even moved? He let him in the end zone. The Bears player? I couldn't get into that on the highlight.
Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see that again.
Yeah. Just watch the guy in the end zone.
New set of downs for Allen and the Bills. This is Singletary. Singletary with a hole up the middle. 15, 10, 5, touchdown Buffalo.
He was playing man-to-man coverage.
He didn't get his head around. I missed that.
He didn't know what was happening.
Yep.
And that happens to the Chiefs sometimes. They play a lot of press coverage and you don't always know what's happening back there. I'm picking Buffalo as well. Everybody's playing for that number one seed. If Buffalo loses Cincinnati and somebody miraculously beats the Chiefs, Denver or Vegas, Cincinnati would be the number one seed. Buffalo has to beat Cincinnati to hang on to their number one seed, because if they lose, Kansas City becomes the number one seed, and they're probably not losing to Denver and Vegas. So it's definitely an important game. The run defense, when I was watching that game, they're still missing tackles a little bit. That's a problem. Is Trey Hendrickson still out for Cincinnati?
He tried playing with the broken wrist, and I don't think he's going to try again this week.
I'm with Buffalo. I know the offensive line has come up great for the Bengals, but now their right tackle, La'el Collins, is out for the year.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to replace him. They went 6 weeks when only they gave up 6 sacks. I think Buffalo might get in there this week. And if they do, they'll definitely win the game. What have you got, Lori?
I've just got a word of hope. I just want Cincinnati to win so bad. I'm going to pick them.
Me too.
I love it.
I went that way. You know I'm going to be screaming my head off and jumping up and down for the Bengals all pick up next week.
They're both great teams.
We're going to come up with our combination picks. There are only about 4 games that we have disagreed on. I had the best.
I'm not making any choices this week. It's all Dan.
Oh no!
I had a better week last week than Dan. Dan, you were.
Oh, that's right. You were supposed to. Brian had the best week, I guess.
I had a tough week.
You were 10-6. That's not too bad. That was 11-5. So let's talk about Atlanta and Arizona. I think Arizona has just packed it in for the season.
Yeah, nobody's coming back next year. J.J. Watt already retired.
So I'm picking Atlanta. We'll send Atlanta. Now Cleveland and Washington. You feel real strong? Huh?
That's your call. I don't have a feel for that game at all. It could go either way.
Okay, we're 2 out of 3 on that. So let's go with Cleveland. Green Bay and Minnesota. You may want to put up a fight on that one.
That's a tough one. I mean, you know, it's another coin flip game, right, Lori? I just don't know. I mean, Minnesota is going to be in the game. I know that much. They play these weird games that sometimes the Chiefs do too, where they just play up to the competition of the opponent until the very end, and it usually works their way.
If it comes down to a one-score game, you kind of have to go with Minnesota.
Yeah.
Over Green Bay. We've seen Green Bay make some really bad decisions in tight playoff games. In tight games.
Well, then go for Minnesota. You think that's it? Go for it.
And Justin Jefferson, he is trying to get the MVP award.
Yeah.
He's over 1,700 yards. He wants to try to get to 2,000 yards.
Oh, I'm sure he wants to break that Calvin Johnson record. And he's minus 800 for Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's lapped the field.
So let's go ahead and go against the grain here and send Minnesota, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. Pittsburgh, I think, is healthier than Baltimore right now.
Much. Baltimore is snake bit right now, and I just don't believe in Huntley. I just don't.
Buffalo and Cincinnati, I think we'll stay with Buffalo, although we're going to root for Cincinnati.
Yes. Every second.
Well, it's been another good show. Thank you for attending, everybody. Check out Rob's exclamation point, his show, coming up next. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and God bless.